father was God again.
The year is 2065, and we still have done nothing towards climate change. And
Yeah.
Werewolf Radar continues on.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, folks, welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's premier paranormal preparedness podcast. My name is Jordan of the Dolls.
I am Nate Balding.
My name is Roger Norquist.
Today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by. Oh God, what is he doing?
This is just for the YouTube people to see the secret gestures that my people make.
This is the language that Roger wants to learn. Is this weird?
Yep,
the language of those guys at the airport that walk the planes down the runway.
The truth seekers.
Yeah, have you ever seen that flag language?
Semaphore?
Is that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, flangwage, I think. Anyway, I better get this ad in or they're going to take my bones. Today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by Monstroco. By Monstroco Energy. 100% red energy. You've heard of green energy. This is red. What does that mean? Shh. Monstroco Energy. What the fuck?
If the energies, if the energy is anything like in Final Fantasy, this red energy just means you're becoming a Dark Knight.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's cheap, and Monstroco Energy takes care of all of the stuff in my house. If you look into the sockets, you see screaming people, but when are you going to look into the sockets?
He's right.
Of your house. And when you plug in your computer, it still gets me the Netflix, you know?
Not the whole X, just one part of it.
Red energy is a movement, and it's going to take over. It's going to take over the United States. And, the Crimson Lord will reign. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why I'm saying it, but I've also been writing it.
Oh, hilarious. Can I start this episode with Werewolf Radar with just a little paranormal sighting? Like I literally found out about, like brand new?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Okay, so they're
hot off the radar. Holy shit.
Hot off the radar. And this isn't my segment. This is just a little thing. I don't have any like news story or anything attached to it, but this is
emergency sighting update.
This is from mumsnet.com.
The famous secret internet for moms, yeah.
And the post is titled, "What Did We See Last Night?" from Galloping High Road.
Mm-hmm.
And they write,
it does sound like a children's book. What did we see last night?
It was
did
gruff.
We see the moon? Was the moon smiling?
It was gruff. It was fluffy. It had giant feet. It sucked all the blood from my goat, who was sweet.
They say we had been away for a few nights and traveled back quite late. Towards the end of our journey, this was about 2 a.m., we were driving along a road in a rural area when something crossed the road in front of us in full headlights for about 3 seconds. It was about the height of a person, maybe 6 feet or over, and had short, powerful legs and hips, which seemed to move in a circular fluid fashion. It was not a deer because it stood on 2 legs. This was in the Midlands, and the area is traditionally rolling fields and woodlands. I assume because of the mums.net, this is somewhere in England.
Sure. Also, Midlands is a very English term. We're in the Midlands.
So anyway, traditionally rolling fields and woodland. This
also traditionally that sound that I made is what short, powerful legs makes me think of.
This particular spot, there are no houses or buildings. Nearest is over a mile away. We drove back today, but it's only 7 miles from home to look at the road layout. And whatever it was moved into a wide bowl-shaped field, dropping down to a stream.
What is the deal with English writers and spending a paragraph describing the bloody topography of the fucking sighting, and then giving us a sentence being like, "It was a short, squat creature I'd never seen before. Goodbye from Sussex."
I blame Dickens and Jane Austen.
I blame
A bunch of people,
Tolkien and Mary Shelley. Was she
a
American?
bunch of people then go cat, kangaroo, wallaby, kangaroo. The poster goes, not sure it was a wallaby or kangaroo, fitting what we saw, but the hip things kinda. Some more people guess, and then they go, the gigantic hair is not far off, but
The
not at 6
gigantic
feet, though.
hair.
The closest thing we can describe it as is a large man goat on hind legs,
Oh,
but really stocky goat legs.
Scary.
Yeah, I mean, the way you determined that was it playing like a wood flute?
But that is a ping straight off the radar.
Some
This
sort
post-
of satyr.
This post is
sighting,
from the end
satyr
of February
sighting.
of this year. I just found it. I was typing in paranormal sightings and then mums.net.com appear, and I go, what?
Squat
parents-
goat
You
For
weren't
parents-
just trolling mums.net.
Listen, mums need love too.
Mums need lums. And
But anyway-
he really just means that he hires himself out for like hugs and cookies, and they put him to bed
Yeah.
and they push him on the swing.
That's all I mean.
Roger pretends to be a baby in a postpartum situation to
Mhm.
ease
pretty-
them back into
That's
it.
pretty dark. Roger's pretending to be the heir to a ruined empire.
I'm not pretending. This is consensual. All parties agree on this, okay? What we don't agree on is the ghost who keeps watching us from the painting. That's weird.
We all agree that I am the long lost nephew, Rupus Fentinelli.
Who wants to start this werewolf radar for real, though?
I'll go. I got a weird one. Or actually, you know what, Nate? Why don't you go? Because mine kind of piggybacks off of yours.
Oh,
All right. I got it's been a while since we've talked about some fearsome critters.
Fearsome critters.
Fearsome critters. These are the weird things from mostly from lumberjack stories from the turn of the century across the United States.
Yeah.
from the 3rd century,
Particularly-
across the United States.
Yeah. So the from the 3rd century America. So a lot of it is going to be in early dialects, Cree dialects that we can't speak or understand. But you get the gist. No, America after European settlers got here, they kind of started building their own mythology that got kind of a pop in the last couple of years that we have come to know and refer to as fearsome critters.
Fearsome critters.
Fearsome critters of the American West, or the American whatever.
Yeah, I mean they're from all over the place. This first one, just as we are in Colorado, I thought it was appropriate to cover the old deadly Colorado slide bolter.
The slide bolter.
This particular article is from out there, Colorado. These are going to be bouncing around from all kinds of different sources, but mostly from a tome from the 1930s of Fearsome Critters. This one is not over. This infamous Colorado creature is far more terrifying than the Bigfoot. The slide bolter, reported by mountain residents frequently throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, this beast was said to resemble a finless dolphin with small eyes, a massive mouth, and hand-like hooks on the end of its tail flipper. Oh, and it was the size of an entire hillside. What
I like
made
how
this beast
wait. Oh, and it's the size of a mountain.
of a whole mountain? Yeah.
I forgot to mention.
it's a bit
This is a footnote that I'm barely remembering.
it's a bit of a land kraken.
Yeah. What made this beast problematic? It was reported to slide down steep slopes, gobbling up entire groups of people in one big gulp.
And it had certain opinions on the Civil War that didn't quite track with.
Jefferson Davis was right.
All right, settle down, Side Rock Bolter.
Using the movable hooks on its tail to fasten itself to a peak or cliff, the slide bolter would eventually release, using the momentum to sweep through a space on a path of destruction before finding another steep hill to latch onto in preparation for another attack. This is the fun part of this one. As legend has it, a park ranger responsible for maintaining a swath of land in the San Juan Mountains took it upon himself to foil the beast, planting a fake tourist filled with explosives in a valley beneath Lizard Head, a 13,119-foot summit.
What?
Hell yeah.
That's incredible.
He's giving this thing a tremors.
How is this not a movie? He is. He's giving it a tremors.
All right, team.
Giving it a-
Werewolf Radar
giving it a
Fortune.
tremors.
Werewolf Radar Fortune. This is what we produced first.
So
Slide
funny.
bolter.
Man, this literally could be a sci-fi SYFY.
That was the very first thing that went through my head. It's like,
Yeah.
Did we
this is a
pitch this
pitch.
to Asylum?
Absolutely, we should and can and will. Or maybe we just call it Fearsome Critters.
But we can do an
Uh,
anthology.
It's about all of them.
Yeah.
It can be like Blumhouse, but with us.
Sure. And there's like a drunk old Van Helsing, or like who's the guy from Curse of Strahd?
Drunk Helsing.
Drunk
Oh.
Helsing's guide to the American West, And he's like, well, I heard about a critter what's a mountain at the same time.
Or it could be the aged Billy the Kid that is allegedly at the end of Young Guns 2.
Absolutely.
Like clockwork, the slide bolter slid down the mountain, swallowing the trap before exploding. The blast was allegedly powerful enough to level a large portion of the surrounding area, including half the town of Rico, and that was the end of the slide bolter.
And there
Or at
was
least-
only one, and the miners feasted on the god flesh for weeks to come.
Well, it says, mysteriously, or at least one of the Centennial States slide bolters.
Oh,
The official head
that is
count remains
Mysterio.
Because there has to be a breeding population.
It's also
Mysterio.
kind of funny that it destroys half the town of Rico, which I think maybe had 800 people at this time. It has less than 200 now. I can tell you that.
Yeah, they used to have 1,000.
Oh, full 1,000. Oh, damn. And now I want to get into some of the more tragic of the fearsome critters. This section will be called "If a Tear Falls in a Forest."
Oh,
Does it make
that
a
made
cry?
Jordan physically sad. His frown is greater than I've ever seen it before.
I don't want the forest to cry.
This first this is the Hugag.
Oh
Or
yeah, I know this guy.
Yeah, Rhythmopes inarticulatus.
Okay.
But a lot of them have Latin names now.
Nice. That's great.
That's how you know they're real.
It's a huge animal of the Lake States. Its range includes western Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, and a territory extending indefinitely northward in the Canadian wilds toward Hudson Bay. In size, the hugag may be compared to the moose, and in form, it somewhat resembles that animal. Very noticeable, however, and this is what makes it tragic, are its jointless legs, which compel the animal to remain on its feet, and its long upper lip, which prevents it from grazing.
Wait,
Can't sleep, can't graze,
yikes.
Just poops.
just walks around being huge.
Yeah.
If it tried that method of feeding, it would simply tramp its upper lip into the dirt. Its head and neck are leathery and hairless. Its strangely corrugated ears flop downward. Its four-toed feet, long bushy tail, shaggy coat, and general makeup give the beast an unmistakably prehistoric appearance. The hugag has a perfect mania for traveling, and few hunters who have taken up its trail ever came up with the beast or back to camp. It is reported to keep going all day long, browsing on twigs, flopping its lips around trees, and stripping bark as occasion offers, and at night, since it cannot lie down, it leans against a tree, bracing its hind legs and marking time with its front ones. The most successful hugag hunters have adopted the practice of notching trees so that they're almost ready to fall, and when the hugag leans up against one, both the tree and the animal come down. In its helpless condition, it's then easily dispatched. The last one killed, so far as known, was on Turtle River in northern Minnesota, where a young one weighing 1,800 pounds was found stuck in the mud. It was knocked in the head by Mike Flynn of Cass Lake.
Wow.
There's another fun one. The Gumbaroo.
The Gumbaroo.
Or Megalogaster repercussus.
What in the world?
This is from the book Fearsome Critters by Henry H. Trine, or I believe that's his name. I forget, I think it's 1932 was the printing. In the foggy region along the Pacific coast from Gray's Harbor to Humboldt Bay, there ranges a kind of creature that has caused much annoyance in the lumber woods. This is the gumbaroo, which, luckily, is so rare that only once in a great while one is seen. It is believed to remain in hiding most of the time at the base of the enormous burned-out cedar trees, from where it sallies forth occasionally on frightful marauding expeditions. During these periods of activity, the beast is always hungry and devours anything it can find that looks like food. A whole horse may be eaten in one sitting, distending the gumbaroo out of all proportions, but failing to appease its hunger or cause it the slightest discomfort. Can't stop eating. It's,
wow, the gumbaroo.
Sort of must gorge.
Sounds like that French guy. Remember that guy? He was that horribly afflicted man who just ate everything.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Strong Wendigo vibes.
Yeah. Ugh.
The specimens are seen reported to have been coal black, but that may have been due to their being smirched in the charred wood. In size, the beast corresponds closely to a black bear, for which it might be mistaken only for the fact that the gumbaroo is almost hairless. To be sure, it has prominent eyebrows and some long bristly hairs on its chin.
Yikes.
It's got leavies.
Same. This sounds like me.
But its body is smooth, tough, and shiny, and bears not even a wrinkle.
Just
The animal is a tireless traveler.
Eyebrowed monster, hungry, constantly eating.
The animal is a tireless traveler when looking for food, but it is not swift in its movements or annoyed in the slightest degree by the presence of enemies. The latter characteristic is easily accounted for by the fact that no other animal within its range has ever found a successful method of attacking a gumbaroo or a vulnerable spot in one's anatomy. Whatever strikes the beast bounds off with the same force. Its elastic hide hurls back with equal ease the charging elk and the wrathy hornet. A rock or peavey thrown at the creature bounds back at whoever threw it, and a bullet shot against its hide is sure to strike the hunter between the eyes. It is believed that the scarcity of the gumbaroo is due to their combustible character and the prevalence of forest fires. The animal burns like celluloid with explosive force.
Holy
Frequently
shit.
during and after a forest fire in the heavy cedar near Coos Bay, women have insisted that they have heard loud reports quite unlike the sound of falling trees and detected smell of burning rubber in the air.
Crazy.
It's a
Utterly.
sploder.
The natural enemy of Smokey the Bear.
The
gumbaroo.
The gumbaroo. Wow.
This next one is the most tragic of the fearsome critters.
Mm-hmm.
The squonk.
The
squonk.
Reportedly the homeliest of all living things in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
This
that's
article's
not
from
nice.
Penn Live.
Hey, listen.
Obviously, we included it in our Monsters of Pennsylvania series simply because it's so Pennsylvania-centric and so weird. Tales of the Squonk originated in northern Penn in the 19th century. William Cox documented the legend in his 1910 book, Fearsome Creatures of the Lumber Woods, with a few desert and mountain beasts. The squonk allegedly lives in the hemlock forest of the state, and Cox makes a point that the that with the squonk and some of the other creatures in this book, because he was writing there, it was a very real possibility that the hemlock forests of Pennsylvania were gone forever due to overharvesting.
Oh.
So he's saying you got rid of them squonks too.
Yeah.
You disrupted the natural
Foolishly removed
ecosystem.
all the hemlock.
Cut off
You
your
removed the
nose.
hemlock. You removed the squanch. And now
Cut off-
ducks are going to take over.
Cut off your nose to spite your face. Now we don't get those delicious squonk tears.
Ugh.
Here's how Cox in his book reported on in his book on the animal, which he gave the scientific name of Lacrimocorpus dissolvens. This shows beyond dispute that as these areas gradually changed to swampy, lake-dotted country, the squonk was forced to take to the water. Of distinctly low mentality, it traveled constantly around the unaccustomed marshes in search of fodder. With time, it developed webbing between its toes, but only on the submerged left feet. Hence, on entering the water, it could swim only in circles and never got back to shore.
Oh no, you
Fossil
idiot.
bones dredged from these Fossil bones dredged from these lake bottoms reveal that thousands perished of starvation in this manner. Today, the squonk is met solely in the hemlock forests of Pennsylvania. It is a most retiring, bashful, crepuscular animal, garbed in a loose, warty, singularly ill-fitting skin. The squonk is always unhappy, even morbid. He's given to constant weeping over his upsetting appearance and can sometimes be tracked by his tear-stained trail.
Wow.
Moonlight nights are best for squonk hunts, for then the animal prefers to lie quiet in its hemlock home, fearing, should it venture forth, that it may catch a glimpse of itself in some moonlit pool. Sometimes you can hear one weeping softly to himself. The sound is a low note of pleading, somewhat resembling the call of the cross-feathered snee. Henry Tryon.
Wildly detailed. And they claim to have fossils of this creature, eh?
Oh, yeah. Thousands of them.
Carry on. Thousands, I hear.
Henry Tryon embellished the Cox description in his 1939 book, Fearsome Creatures. The range of the squonk is very limited. Few people outside Penn have ever heard of the quaint beast. Talks about the hemlock, retiring disposition, generally traveling about at twilight and dusk because of its misfitting skin. It's always unhappy. This is the part that he talks about that's great. Hunters who are good at tracking are able to follow a squonk by its tear-stained trail, for the animal weeps constantly. When cornered, an escape seems impossible, or when surprised and frightened, it may even dissolve itself in tears.
Yeah.
Squonk?
Yeah. That's what I remember of the squonk.
Yeah.
How?
Well,
it cries itself from the inside out.
yeah.
Quickly.
Look, it's all described in great detail in the fossil record that they have.
Thousands of them.
Mhm.
And there is an account of a capture. Mr. J.P. Wentling, formerly of Pennsylvania, but now at St. Anthony Park, Minnesota, had a disappointing experience with a squonk near Mont Alto. He made it says cleaver. I think he means a clever capture by mimicking the squonk and inducing it to hop into a sack in which he was carrying home. When suddenly the burden lightened and weeping ceased, Wentling unslung the sack and looked in. There was nothing but tears and bubbles.
Yeah. There you go. Remind you of anyone? Crybaby. You hit me in the face with a softball. Oh, I did not.
Then I want to do a quick look at the. This is basically America's Mothman. This is the belled buzzard.
Ooh. Well, wait, Mothman is American.
Well, I know, but like this is the
old
I guess-
West version.
yeah. Mothman can be seen around the world. The bell buzzard specifically is seen mostly in Eastern America and Texas.
Do you think you could run into Mothman outside of?
Yeah,
America?
I think so.
I don't think he goes on vacations. I think he just stays at home.
I think it's all okay. Well,
He's a
this
staycation man.
I mean, if he does, that would change a lot.
Well,
It scares
it's
the hell out of
possible
me.
that Mothman is some sort of Pokemon evolution of the belled buzzard in that case.
Fair enough.
So the belled buzzard was it's a buzzard that wears a bell, and it's an omen of misfortune. It's about to come. But this one has a whole bunch of actual recorded accounts of people seeing it.
Wow.
So here's a handful of them these are all from Texas, but you can find them in newspapers dated around this time, pretty much across the U.S.
Hell yeah.
This is Pilot Point, April 25th, 1893. The bell buzzard was seen by Mrs. Keyes and family on their farm near town, and as usual, it was not accompanied by any of its kind. Here's the one thing people have shot down these bell buzzards, but what they've come to decide is that there is only one actual belled buzzard, and that's the one, like that's the spirit of the buzzard that is the omen of horrible things to come. It predicted a bunch of yellow fever in West Virginia.
What in the world?
Insane.
There's one of Erath County, March 18th, 1894. Colonel J.L. Hansel, always doubted reports concerning the famous bell buzzard. He did not believe until yesterday afternoon that such a buzzard existed. He was out in his yard when above him he heard a bell ringing. Looking up, he saw a buzzard with a bell hanging on its neck.
Wow.
It was in the Dallas Morning News.
Wow.
This is another one from June 1894. M.K. Onsley and Will James caught a belled buzzard. The bell was branded J and was attached to the buzzard's neck by a leather collar.
What?
Now I have more questions.
In the world? This is so crazy.
Longview, June 27th, 1894. A buzzard wearing a sheep bell was seen by several citizens yesterday morning. The bell buzzard was seen at numerous places in the state. Mr. O.H. Methvin and his son, over whose cornfield he circled several times, thought it was a belled sheep or calf in their corn and tried sometime to find it.
Hilarious. And then they find it's just a bloodthirsty buzzard out for their blood.
It's a good one from Chatfield, April 3rd, 1898. The belled buzzard has been captured. It was caught last Sunday. The bell consisted of an oyster can securely tied about the bird's neck with a 10-penny nail as the bell clapper.
Oh, no. What?
It was trapped on the farm of Mr. T.B. Roberts, liberated from the burden which had cut into its flesh, and the bird turned loose. The can is on exhibition at Shook's drugstore.
Yikes. The belled buzzard.
Wait. Just show me the body. I don't want to see the bell.
Do you have some questions about the belled buzzard?
I do want to see the body. I hear there's a
Makes
man with the
perfect
body
sense.
and he's only showing me the bell.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just a handful of a whole page full of Texas sightings, and you can find more in almost every state.
Texas sightings.
So, yeah, that's your fearsome critters. for
Fearsome
this section.
critters.
Phenomenal.
If a tear drops in the forest, make a cry.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. Collect your tears, put them in a jar, and maybe someday they'll coalesce into an ugly animal that hates being.
Make a squonk.
All right, make a squonk. When life gives you tears, make a squonk. Okay, y'all. Let's shift from one mythological pantheon to another with I've discovered a new website that I really like, which is grunge.com. Grunge.
Oh yeah, is it all about Nirvana?
You
Nah,
wish.
it's about Pearl Jam.
You wish.
Mudhoney,
Dirt heads.
Gas Huffer.
They do it's like a bit of a cracked kind of situation, but it's exactly
better.
like cracked. So yeah, maybe slightly better. You decide. This is the craziest creatures described in the Bible. That's right. Jordan reads you a listicle. This one's from Grunge.
Tango.
Wango Tango, as they say. So first up, the Ophanim.
Ophanim.
It's sort of common now. Yeah, y'all Bibles? Y'all Bible it? Did y'all
I
grow
Bible
up
it so hard,
Mhm.
actually. What we Bibling?
Did y'all grow up Bibling it?
I just like reading the Bible. I think it's neat stories.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Nate?
Yeah, I just read numbers over and over. I like the counts of
Sure.
all of the numbers of people
Mhm.
of
Bible
various
code.
tribes.
Mhm. So this is the Ophanim as described in the Book of God. It's sort of common knowledge at this point that those white lady with wings, angels that we all grew up with, don't appear anywhere in the Bible. Good one, grunge. That's grunge talking there. Angels are most of a culturally accepted shorthand than a straightforward adaptation of the source material. So why did artists across the centuries decide to depict the heavenly host as white, garbed, blonde-haired bird women, and not the way they are described in the text? The answer might fall somewhere between, because the angels from the Bibles would be harder to draw on church ceilings, and because if you saw pictures of what angels were supposed to look like, you'd miss your depends. Those are dyes. Those are diapes for pooping them.
If you saw what the angels of the Lord were, you would bleed
Yes.
from the eyes and your
Yes.
anus.
Take the
I don't think they would have been that hard to draw on a ceiling. I've seen Evangelion.
I'm actually going to drop it in the Discord, but I'm going to drop for anyone who's a member of our Discord. You can find the description in the link in any of our descriptions, a picture of properly depicted angels, and it is metal as fuck.
You'd mess your depends.
Here it is, 1,000 eyes.
Take the Ophanim first described in Ezekiel 1:15. In Jewish tradition, there are 10 orders of angels, and the Ophanim are considered some of the most holy, second only to the Chayot HaKodesh, who hold the throne of God. They hold it up. And
Sounds
brother,
legit.
they are bananas. There's a lot to go into, and parts of the description come off a little like a fever dream, but essentially Ophanim are flaming gyroscopes covered in eyes, guarding God's seat of power. This is okay, so in a FromSoft game, when you're coming up on kind of the boss who would be God in this situation.
You're talking those Souls-born games.
Sure. Elden Ring, more specifically. Finally, we're talking about it. These are like the big weird kind of tank enemies sitting outside of God's final boss area,
For sure.
whirling and shooting flaming swords at you. Next up, the Behemoth. The Behemoth is one of a handful of creatures in the Bible that historians have been arguing about for quite a while. Scholars can't agree much about him, but they know two things. He was big, and apparently had a belly button.
Was it an innie or outie?
That's what I was going to ask, if that was the debate.
The Book of Job describes the Behemoth as a giant reed-dwelling creature that is too powerful for anyone except God to control. Depending on the interpretation, it could drink an entire river, and its strength was significant enough to be worth mentioning 4 times in a single paragraph.
Real strong.
But besides being big and strong, the closest thing we get to a descriptor is a line about how his force is in the navel of his belly, meaning that contrary to what some young earth enthusiasts believe, blah, 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 the animal Job was describing probably wasn't a dinosaur, since animals that hatch from eggs are usually short on navels. Wow, that's a very literal interpretation of that.
I mean, he's not wrong. Navels are something mammals have because of the umbilical cord system.
Yeah, but you're talking about people in the Bible who thought, these are people from the age when they thought all bears had long tails, they don't know. They don't know that
Fair enough.
Lizards don't have navels.
Fair enough.
A lot of people seem to think this might have been an elephant. People interpreting an elephant or a hippopotamus is more likely, a creature of the reeds, and you kind of don't ever see underneath him. So his power comes from beneath him, from his navel. But anyway, next up, Leviathan.
Ooh.
Yeah. Famous Final Fantasy summon and all that. The second creature described is in the behemoth passage of Job is the Leviathan, and where the behemoth leaves quite a bit of wiggle room for visual interpretation. The Leviathan is bizarrely well fleshed out.
Only it's your flesh.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
To the point of making the behemoth seem like an unloved afterthought. Whereas the behemoth is considered the beast of the land, the Leviathan calls the water his domain. It has double thick armor plating running down its back and muscular folds all over its body. It breathes fire and its skin is impenetrable, tough as stone. Its name
is 1,000,000 pounds.
Its name is synonymous with terrifying sea creatures that old sailors tell stories about. As with the behemoth, the Leviathan has been the subject of plenty of debate over the years. People think they might be talking about a dinosaur or some human encounter with a creature thereof. Maybe a crocodile or a particularly crabby whale, they say. It is a little difficult to square that with the fire-breathing rock monster, they say.
The double armor.
Mm-hmm.
I was like Googling everything we're talking about, like always, and for Leviathan, there's an awesome picture that's all like Leviathan is thought to be a whale or a dragon. The Bible says fire comes out of its mouth. I think Leviathan is a type of crocodile that can breathe fire.
Like the Dagrons of old.
And then for Behemoth, there's like a fun little comic panel that says Behemoth, noun, an enormous creature described in the Bible, probably a hippopotamus, hence a very large animal. And then the picture below shows a hippopotamus saying, "Am I getting heavy, dear?"
Whoa, that's hilarious.
Gary Larson strikes again.
Man, Larson, genius. Boy, I will tell you, we have a Far Side calendar, and when you only read the collections, when you're not subjected to the Far Side dailies that were in the comics that were in the newspaper for so long, you forget how many real squeakers there are. Next up, the first beast of Revelation. You know this guy? Have you heard about this guy?
Oh, the serpent of Rehoboam.
Yeah, seven horns, the 7 crowns.
The bridal beast of Beth Charazab?
Oh, god damn it. I was close though.
No, that's from The Simpsons. The Simpsons is kind of my Bible. If books of the Bible were kids in an 8th grade class photo, the book of Revelation would be the one with too many safety pins in its sweatshirt and an X-Acto knife that he stole from art class stashed in his back pocket.
Edgelord.
It is pretty edgy.
Did that guy just have a picture of 8th grade kids on his desk?
Maybe he was that kid.
It's a weird metaphor to jump to.
The first beast is laid out in Revelations 13:1, also called the beast of the sea, given its oceanic point of origin. It has 10 horns with crowns on top of them, the name of blasphemy written across all 7 of its heads, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. Go on.
I'm sharing this picture. It's fucking insane. It looks like it's a fucking creature from Lewis Carroll book.
Are you in Listen Along?
Yeah, it's in Listen Along.
Oh goodness. Oh God, the word literally. Don't forget.
It does look like it should be called the Wally Boggle or some shit.
Don't forget. Hey kids, I'm here to teach you how to spell blasphemy. Has the mouth of a lion. It is also described as taking a lethal beating to one of its heads before miraculously healing itself, which apparently makes it very popular since after that, all the world wondered at the beast. The first beast pops up again in pages of later in Revelation 17:7 through 18, when an angel pops its head in to explain that the creature was a metaphor for mountains and also a metaphor for kings. And also, Revelation has never been the easiest nut to crack.
Okay, so let's take this all literally. You're being your whole farm is being devastated by the beast of the sea.
So not your whole farm. This thing's huge. Your city.
Yeah, your community, your
kaiju.
neighbors, everything around you is being destroyed, and the nature and an angel just pops in behind you, taps you on the shoulder, and goes, "This is a metaphor."
Yes, thank you. Thank you, an angel.
Is it a metaphor for having my life fucked?
Cool. Good one. Tell God thanks, too. Okay, next up, the second beast of Revelation. Boy, they were running out of names at this point, huh? This shady fellow emerges from the earth. It has the voice of a dragon. It has the horns of a lamb. It has, one would assume, other things. Is kind of a hype man for the first beast, apparently. In 13:11 through 16, it's seen convincing human beings to worship the first beast, pulling stunts like making the sky rain fire. It also has the dubious honor of acting as Satan's tattoo artist, branding the hands and foreheads of its followers with the mark of the beast, an enigmatic physical sign indicating fealty to the forces of darkness. There's no mention of whether or not this is its way of compensating for its blah, 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 blah. This is pretty funny, whoever wrote this, but not good for my purposes, which is stealing it from my podcast. Next up, they talk about dragons in the Bible. Did you know that?
Hit us with
A
it.
couple mentions.
Deuteronomy, they say that wine is the poison of dragons. They say, therefore, I will wail and howl. I will go stripped naked and will make a wailing like the dragons and mourning as the owls.
I mean, I don't know if the dragon is a direct translation from ancient Greek, but
Yeah.
Well, yeah, don't harp the Bible for mistranslations. We'll be here for 6 hours. This will be the Joe Rogan pod experience.
According to chapter 13 of Isaiah, after Babylon falls, its places will be infested by dragons, as well as doleful creatures, owls, and even satyrs, as were cited at the top of the show. Dragons appear again in chapter 34. So maybe the satyr that people saw was a sign of the fall of Babylon, and we were Babylon, and we'll get to see some dragons soon.
oh, God willing.
Okay.
Things get
Literally,
even
God
more
willing.
intense in Revelation, as they tend to do. Satan takes the form of a great red dragon, fighting angels in a heavenly battle royale. Stunning upset. One particular angel lays a smackdown and banishes the creature to the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. Dragon in the King James Bible comes up. There's dragons. It's kind of all over the place. They talk about the cockatrice. You know what a cockatrice is?
Does it have stone powers?
Yes. It's kind of a cross between they call it the King of Roosters, I believe, or maybe the King of Serpents.
Yeah, it's like a weird chicken serpent snake thing.
Yeah. Cockatrice was a mythological creature that was a lot more popular in the Middle Ages than it is these days. Sort of a low-key dragon, a winged, two-legged serpent with a rooster's head. They reportedly appeared when a rooster laid an egg that was left to be cared for by a toad or a snake, a la Horton hatches an egg. Good one.
I like the idea that whatever decides to hatch that egg, the egg takes that form.
Sure. That's true.
Like, it's a chicken egg, but a snake fathered it, so it's more snake than chicken now.
Yeah, that's why a lot of the chickens that we see on farms look like incubators. Let's see. The cockatrice was not included. Oh no, it seems to have been pretty much cooked up in medieval translations. It's when they appeared. Daniel's angel. Physical descriptions of angels are few and far between in the Bible, but when they happen, things get full-on prescription strength bonkers. In chapter 10 of the book of Daniel, the eponymous Daniel was going through a rough patch. He was 3 weeks deep, period of mourning. He didn't bathe, drink wine, or eat quote-unquote pleasant bread. Around that time, an angel came to him, and this is what he said. I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of fine gold from Uphaz around his waist. Did you get that in Uphaz? His body was like topaz, his face like lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and legs like the gleam of burnished bronze, and his voice like the sound of a multitude. That sounds like a robot. That sounds like you saw a robot, dude.
It does.
Very much.
A guy with a crystal body and electric face shot fire out of his eyes and spoke with the voice of a crowd. And they always say, "Be not afraid." There's unicorns in the Bible.
No harm.
Did you know there's unicorns in the Bible?
I forgot, actually.
Unicorns are mentioned in the Bible. See, the Bible is funny. A lot of it's has been interpreted and reinterpreted hundreds of times from just about every language. Sometimes words have more than one meaning, and others have no direct translation at all. Sometimes blanks need to be filled in, and that's one explanation for why the King James Bible, first printed in the early 17th century, mentions unicorns not once, but 9 times. They're generally used as a point of reference for a simile, but that changes in the book of Isaiah. In chapter 34, God is on a hot streak, cutting down sinners with a sword filled with blood and ram kidneys. It's foretold that while this happens, unicorns and bulls will overrun the land of Idumea and lay the place to waste.
It is called...
Everybody gets their own unicorn, I guess.
It is called the Rahim, and it is awesome looking at. There are medieval pictures of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a unicorn.
Yeah. Next up, cherubim. Cherubim, you might know as the little angels from Valentine's Day, pudgy little arrow shooting, love 'em up, Cupid boys. Nuh-uh. The cherubim are an angelic order with a lot going on physically. They each have 4 faces for starters, including a human, an ox, an eagle, and a lion. Each one of them has 4 wings, too, as well as straight legs capped at the end with shiny bronze bull hooves. They are traditionally given a series of heavenly duties, most famously guarding the gates of Eden.
Wow.
Heaven sounds like a place that if you got there, you wouldn't want to go.
You'd be like,
Just be looking at this thing like, I don't think I'm in the right place.
this is
No, this is not for me. I'm not ready for the final stage of Elden Ring.
Yeah, why does this feel all from Softy?
I need to equip a lot more materia for a while and then come back.
Straight up.
Yeah.
This is endgame
Knights
shit.
of the round.
They are also, they are the 9th highest order of angels and associated with the task of helping people move beyond their sins in order to be closer to God. And for fans of raiding lost arks, they're also what's described as being sculpted onto the lid of the ark. The Ark of the Covenant.
Okay.
Cherubim have shifted visually over time, blah, blah, blah. The Greeks intermingled with the Greek/Roman god of love. There you go. Nephilim. We know about the Nephilim.
The Watchers.
Yeah, the bigums.
The messengers, I think. Sorry.
Yeah. In Genesis, shortly after Adam and Eve were 86th from the Garden of Eden, people started getting on with the business of making more people. While a lot of that went down about the way you'd expect, there were some glaring irregularities as well. It was a hectic point in the biblical timeline. A lot of strangeness gets ever so slightly swept under the rug. Exhibit A, the Nephilim. In Genesis chapter 6, it is relayed that, quote unquote, the sons of God, usually interpreted as fallen angels, noticed that the daughters of man, usually interpreted as hot ladies, were looking pretty all right.
Dude, they do, don't they? Human
Hot
women
ladies
be all
look
right.
good. Hot ladies look good. The angels got hitched to human brides, and the resulting progeny were the Nephilim, a race of violent giants. In numbers, they're described as being roughly to people what people are to grasshoppers. So,
Oh,
big.
Jesus.
Yeah, the book of Enoch, an apocryphal religious text that didn't make the final cut of the Bible, said they were nearly a mile high. They're also considered to have been symbolic of the corruption God felt he needed to wipe out with the Great Flood. Pre-flood Bible, pretty wild.
Means
it's also got a lot of
giants.
talking animals in there.
Animals talk to this day. Who do you think was that guy? The son of Sam was talking to.
In the book of Numbers.
I thought you were going to be like, I thought you were going to talk about like the Nutty Professor or whatever. Nope. Son of Sam.
Right.
David Berkowitz. He was talking to that dog.
Yeah, he talked to that dog.
Dog talked back.
In the book of Numbers, we meet Balaam, a troubled prophet. Long story short, Balaam is on a road trip, and he really had to needle God about it in order to get the Lord's permission to go. God gives him the go-ahead, but doesn't feel great about it, so he sends an angel to mess with the donkey Balaam is riding. The angel, invisible to Balaam, freaks the donkey out, making it veer off course and smack Balaam against a wall. Balaam gets angry at the donkey and starts hitting it. That's when God gives the donkey the power of speech. The donkey asks Balaam why he got so slap happy, and Balaam, apparently unfazed by the fact he's sitting on a sentient barnyard animal, says something like, because you're being a fool and you suck, and I want to ride you to wherever he was going. So I won't be using grunge again. They're too quippy, and the fact is, I like to do the quips. But there you go. There's Jordan reads you a listicle from grunge.com, the craziest creatures described in the Bible.
Nice. Bravo.
Thank you.
Extreme.
Look, I like to
describe the vibe.
I'd like to describe a vibe.
All right. Let's wrap up this werewolf radar with something that we talk about a lot, but I don't think we ever got into it. The Akashic Records.
Okay.
This is from helenawoods.com. I was looking for any type of information for like kind of beginners to get us into knowing what the Akashic Records are, perhaps even reading.
Hit me with that 101 shit.
So, to begin with the biography, hi, I'm Helena, a sunny girl from Cali living in the south of France. I adore slow living, magic, and celebrating the joys of daily life. I'm a self-proclaimed Disney nerd, obsessed with cats and Coco, and you can often find me swimming with the fishies in the salty sea. So here is Helena.
So not like the mafia version of swimming with the fishes.
No. Like joyous, like enjoying the south of France.
Like grabbing the back of a dolphin and riding it into a sunset.
Exactly what is depicted in the what were they called? The Minoans mosaics.
Yeah.
So Helena says, hello, dear kindred spirits. Today I want to give you a little guide to reading the Akashic Records. I learned how to read the Akashic Records in the spring of 2018 when a friend of mine asked me if I have ever heard of them. The word Akashic struck a resonant chord with me, and I felt a connection to the world on a core, energetic level. Since then, I've always felt a deep calling and pull to dive deep and connect directly to my own Akashic records. And I'm excited to share what I've learned with you today. So, what are the Akashic records? According to Helena Woods, the term Akashic has its roots in Sanskrit, Akasha, meaning ether, sky, or atmosphere. So it goes without saying that the Akashic records are thought to exist in the ether, the non-physical plane of existence, aka the mental plane.
Right. The collective unconscious.
Indeed, indeed. You might have heard the Akashic records plus this collective unconscious, whatever, described and depicted on Ancient Aliens as well. They're all about it. Especially Dr. Richard Allen Greer, who says he communicates with them through the Akashic records sometimes.
Oh, is there anything Greer can't do?
It's like the cloud. It's the ancient cloud.
This is the ancient cloud. The Akashic records are like an energetic log, a Google search for your soul.
Primordial Steve Jobs.
Yeah, you got it.
A Google search for your soul. And on it are records for everything that has ever existed or taken place.
Boy, if I ever get access to these records, it's all just going to be like, what's the loudest fart I ever did? What's the dumbest way I ever died? What's the biggest boobs I ever touched or had or experienced? Just, I don't know. Just show me boobs.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to give you some tips.
Can you use the Akashic record for porn?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Party.
Essentially, very much so. Tips.
I think you would just be accessing all of the porn you know in your own memory.
Okay.
Tips for reading.
Might be weird.
No. In essence, when you are reading your own records or the records of someone else, you can connect to someone else's Akashic records. This is all on the ether. Everyone's on the cloud, Nate. You can't have something not on the cloud.
We saw what you were looking up in there.
And we approve. So
yeah, I was also turned on by that description of the Nephilim. Show me those guys again.
So when you work with the Akashic records, you are looking at a bird's eye view of a situation, place, collective, or specific soul. It's like your own personal library, where all the individual books are divided into specific lifetimes. When you open the records, you may see visuals, colors, and movie clues. That's what it says. When you open the records, you may see visuals, colors, movie clues.
Insane.
Oh, it's Casablanca.
It's missed. That's so funny.
You may hear sound, but I think what she means is you might get a lot of visuals. You might hear sounds.
Now,
music.
within the Akashic record, you're going to experience movie clues, animal trivia, and general knowledge. If you hear this sound, you're in the topsy-turvy zone. All Akashic records will have a secret in them.
So, tip number 1. Start with a meditation or a prayer. You got to get into the state, you know? She says before you venture on, say a pathway prayer out loud. Connect with light, healing energy. You may want to call in Archangel Michael to remove any fears or doubts you're holding on to. I often imagine myself surrounded in white light that slowly trickles in from the base of my feet and up to the crown of my head. It almost looks like a white egg surrounds and protects me, which I think we talked about is generally good spiritual protection practice.
That's Mork and Mindy. That making it an egg is that's Mork for Morrison. Mork for Mork.
Listen,
well,
Mork
that's
was
also
correct
common.
on a few things.
It's true. A
Fair.
lot of people were really high on hallucinogens writing that show, and they were tapped into these Akashic records. Man.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
That
Kinda
egg thing is
similar-
also common with working vril energy.
Mm.
So you got to ground yourself, number one.
Hmm.
And this HelenaWoods.com isn't formatted the best. So some of these like bullet points are mixed in with the paragraph that's mixed in with the paragraph itself.
Mm.
I think it might be the Akashic Records, and I'm learning how to read. So
Sure.
ground yourself is number one, which we
Mhm.
already went over, and that includes saying the opening or the pathway prayer out loud. And then you're going to be in the search. Okay, you can search anything. All right, you're on God's Google search at this point. Okay, and nothing's in that forbidden zone. What is that called? There's no parental guidance on God's Google search. Okay.
God's Google search will not be PG.
So now we can ask for anything. Literally ask for anything. You've done your meditation, you grounded yourself, you've done your meditation, you've said your pathway prayer out loud.
Okay.
You're now in a Zen-like mode, and it might be hard to get to, but eventually you get to it,
So
and
it's
nothing is off limits.
Just through meditation. That's how you. That's first step.
First step is meditative practice. Yes.
And then you say like, I want to see the day the dinosaurs died.
Or like, if you have a question like if OJ had done it, how would he have done it? Is there
Past
a book for
lives?
that?
Helena says past lives are cool and all, but they aren't the purpose or point of this current life you're living, which I think she's putting a lot of herself on us now. We want to see how OJ killed the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You may feel called to a certain place or period, such as you, Jordan,
Mhm.
or you, Nate, and ask the records information on a possible life about that time. So yes, you can find out both on the Akashic Records, but you only receive the information that is important for you in this life, in this body at this particular time.
Okay.
So let's say you go see the O.J. Simpson murder of the first Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right.
But it doesn't matter to you all to you at all in this life, so you just get none of the information. Like you can't retain the information, but you can see it. So a bit of a proper catch-22 there.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So then do you know that you've seen it? You just can't remember it? Or is it fully like you have no ability to recall whatsoever?
You have no ability to recall. It's not
All right.
important to this life, so you don't retain it. You only receive.
So what happens in meditation literally stays in meditation.
Literally stays in
Yes,
yeah.
yes. It is a sacred place, no doubt about that. So reading another person's, this is when it starts getting mixed up with the previous bullet that we said you only receive or you get the information or retain it that is important for you.
Mhm.
You also can't open the records of anyone under 18. Which is a great thing. I'm glad the Akashic
Great
Records have
idea.
that rule.
I'm glad modern man's law applies to.
So funny.
And that's because of the consent law of the Akashic Records. The person
Yeah.
has to be able to fully give consent.
Yeah, I'm sure that was in there from the beginning. I mean, it's not like they're not in the Bible being like, people can have babies almost immediately.
So the last thing you do after asking for permission apparently is a thing, but it got mixed up in the notes. You got to ask for permission. Thus,
Yeah.
18-year-olds can't, or anyone under the age of 18 can't do that.
Yeah.
Parents can't sign off on it either.
It's so funny that just seeing that like puts it such in the realm of like modern thinking for me. They're like nobody under 18, and you're like, okay, so you just made this up.
I don't know because the fifth.
Up until like 100 years ago, people were complete monsters.
Now, the fifth note is to
With the
close
child brides and what have you.
what have you. I mean, still in modern times.
Yeah, truly.
Close the records when you're done journeying.
Please clean the records when you're done with it. Please wipe the records down.
Now, this is where it starts to get somewhat, I think, tricky. So, often the experience and all the information received feels like a long, fuzzy dream. You may receive a lot of visual information in a short amount of time. And so I highly recommend keeping a journal just for your Akashic record experiences. Be sure to write down dates. Over time, periodically go back to them, and you may see a greater story play out within something that's overwritten by the next bullet point. So what she's saying is write down, you apparently are getting messages, you're getting information. At the same time, you can write all this down.
All right. I mean,
You
that
can
makes
draw
sense.
the images, the symbols, the whatever it is.
Mhm.
But with the previous point, you're probably not going to understand any of the symbols or words you're writing down because it's not important to your current life.
Mhm. Does it
Yeah, it's
stand
kind
to
of,
reason that, like, what were you going to say, Nate?
Oh, I was just saying, it's like making your own version of the Memento movie.
Yeah.
Just jotting down all these random things. Like if I put them all together, it sort of tells me what's going on.
Is it possible?
It kind of is like that, Nate. That's a good analogy.
I wonder if, like, maybe you have a part of your brain that can access this that doesn't mature until you're a certain age, like 18. Like when you're like, it's like growing a beard, or something. Like something where it's like your brain hasn't matured enough, so that's why you can't see.
There's a pituitary key to the Akashic record.
Yeah, totally.
It kind of says that. It says specifically anyone can learn to read the Akashic records because it's just a history of all of our souls.
Mm-hmm.
She says to develop your trust muscle. Let go of your fear and skepticism and trust every single little thing that comes to you.
Okay,
write your
wow.
address down and send it to Werewolf Radar. We have a bridge we want to sell you. Anyway, develop your trust muscle. And she says by doing so, you have to trust every little thing that comes at you. Obviously, she means during meditation, I'm sure. I hope so. Where are we now? We talked about that. The last note, or the last, bullet point or tip on reading the Akashic records with Helena Woods is can you experience negative energies in the Akashic records?
Uh-oh.
Indeed. How to Read the Akashic Records by Dr. Linda Howe. I'm pretty sure that's Linda Moulton Howe of animal mutilation fame. And you know fucking what?
Right.
My girlfriend's mom worked with Linda Moulton Howe in the fucking 80s or something.
Whoa, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
She
She
said
said
next
she
to her on
was-
a suicide hotline.
She said she was extremely professional, one of the best producers she's ever seen.
Okay.
Now,
All right.
Linda Howe, this book known as the Handbook to the Non-Physical Vibrational Library called the Akashic Records. It has a lot of helpful information in it if you love reading like I do. This is all now over. Helena Woods, please fix your website. You are paying hosting
Helena.
fees.
Helena, listen to me. Fix it.
Look, she has fish to swim with in the south of France. She doesn't have time to cater to your website formatting needs.
Got you there.
But she does say underneath the text, I do believe that yes, you can experience negative energies depending on the people or places you are I guess, researching. So all that energy, negative energy from the death of the dinosaurs, you're going to feel OJ's wrath.
God.
And and let's say you go who would be cool to visit regardless? Let's say Beethoven. You're going to feel the rage in which he wrote all of his symphonies, it's still going to be negative energies.
Was it rage?
I say rage, but he wrote a lot of beautiful odes towards the Germanic people. So you're going to feel some of that.
Sure. You get a touch of that.
You're going to feel the energies of the places and people that you are inquiring about in the records.
Allegedly.
Now, before we go on, are you ready to learn the opening prayer to enter the Akashic Records?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. I'm prepared.
This is like the Wi-Fi login.
It is. Everyone get ready for it. Write this down. Login and password ahead. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit God, protect me from all forms of self-centeredness and direct my attention to the work at hand. Let me know myself / legal first name and last name of individual being read in the light of the Akashic Records. To see my first name, legal first name and last name of individual being read through the eyes of the Lord of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion of the masters, teachers, and loved ones of me / legal first and last name of individual being read have for me / them. After you say all that and fill in the blanks, the records are now open.
All right. Well, so it has to be their legal first and last name.
That's what it says. It says legal first and last name of individual being read.
What if
does that mean that you could hide something, hide an Akashic record as long as you're doing things and in your head you believe that you're doing it as a character that is not using your legal first and last name?
Yes, that is what I'm reading here.
As long as all of my arsons are committed by Spivey Mike. No one can find out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then to close the closing prayer real quickly, I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the lords and the I would like to thank the lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view, and I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen.
Wow.
And thus ends
Rise to close.
Thus ends my presentation on how Helena Woods reads the Akashic Records and some tips for beginners from this sunny gal living in south of France.
Internet 1.0, the Akashic Records.
I thought it was neat. I'm glad I shared it with you.
Yeah,
we talk about it so much, but I've never gone over it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Second Life. But for people who wore a lot of burlap.
Life, the alpha version of Life, and then now we're in Life 1.0. Then we got Second Life, and now hopefully in the metaverse we can transcend.
The metaverse is going to be the next one. Yeah, that's the artificial Akashic record, really.
And I'm going to put my porn video that I made with claymation.
Yeah, people are going to spend just as long trapped inside the Akashic record jerking off as they will in the metaverse. I think that does it for this week's episode of Werewolf Radar. We hope you enjoyed what you heard here, the things you learned. We hope that you'll be back next week. We hope that you'll tell your friends, hey, listen to this goofy thing that these guys are goofing around on. And we know that people are pushing back against podcasts these days. And I, for one, say it's about time. But
we're on your side.
But you tell them that we were here. We were doing it before it was cool, and we're still doing it after it's cool.
And feel free to tell them that we will happily make this a television program.
Yeah, we would in a second. We don't want it. We don't want it to be a podcast any more than you do.
And tell them that we said thank you for supporting us everywhere you do, giving us 5-star reviews.
Absolutely.
Checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/werewolf radar.
Indeed.
Checking out our D&D game over at twitch.tv/werewolf_radar.
Steak night every Monday.
Steak night every Monday, 4 p.m. Mountain Time.
Tell them
the closest time zone to the night.
Tell them over at that 14 Film Festival at 14filmfestival.com that the Werewolf Radar boys sent you there.
Yeah.
They said you had all sorts of cool paranormal films, or as you say over on the other side of the big pond, 14.
Yeah. 14 pictures. I'm going down to the 14 Picture House to nick off a show about a specter.
Anyway, you could tell your friends that. That'd be cool. Thank you.
Oh, boy. Anyway, look, my mom's British. I was born over there. Don't come at me.
Come at us.
Come at him. Come at him. All right. Until next week, as always, our sign-off line. First of all, thank you very much. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Punch the sky!